Curious. You would make an excellent cephalon, Tenno.
Welcome to Cephalon Squared, a Warframe community and podcast. Join the community at Cephalon Squared on Twitter and Facebook, or send us a voice message via the Anchor app. Now, sit back and enjoy the show. Here are your Cephalons, Greg and Lucas.
This is the third take because 3 times I've tried to record that introduction and 3 times I called it Elepisode 11. And Lucas has been laughing at me.
Priceless. Elepisode.
We made it this time. We made it through Elepisode 11. God, I don't feel dumb. It's an easy mistake to make. Episode 11, Elepisode, whatever. Anyway, hi everyone. Welcome. Thank you. All right, kicking into... I don't even know what I'm doing. I've thrown myself way off. My name is Cephalon Greg. I'm the host. I am joined, as always, by Cephalon Lucas. How you doing, Lucas?
Good, mate. Glad to be on Elepisode 11.
Elepisode threw me off. But anyway, welcome to the Elepisode. So usually every week I say there wasn't much news and blah 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 blah, and the reality is this week there wasn't actually much news, although there was a massive Devstream, so there was heaps of news. So again, I'm saying there's not much news, but there was news. But anyway, the news, we'll go over it. It'll take us all of 2 minutes because there isn't much. Chroma Prime, as we've been saying the last couple of episodes, Chroma Prime is finally out on all platforms. I did see a few posts on a couple of different pages actually saying that, wondering if console people were getting Chroma Prime at the same time. Just to throw it out there and let everyone know, when it comes to Prime Access, everyone's on the same timeline. When it comes to updates, PC comes first. So PC is basically the testing ground for new content, new code, etc. But when it comes to adding things, that are just new Warframes or whatever, I don't want to say new Warframes because Revenant was just part of an update.
Primes in general.
Primes in general, Prime Access, Prime Vault, all that kind of stuff. We get it at the same time as everyone else. So it is now available on all platforms for everyone around the world. Yay. If you've got your hands on him, fantastic. If you don't, he's now there to get your hands on, and he's pretty wonderful, I must admit. Lucas, have you played any Warframe at
all? I've played a little bit. Honestly, it's been an absolute hectic week. In fact, I actually haven't even had much of a chance to play anything this last week, unfortunately. So
you have had a crazy week.
So I have not yet had a chance to acquire Chroma Prime or any of the wonderful little tidbits that come with him. That Graham, though, the Graham is looking absolutely divine.
As is the Rubico. I'm hearing really good things on both fronts, so I can't wait for either of them. I did get Chroma Prime. I bought the accessories, and then I just thought, stuff it, I won't farm for him. I'll just buy him with some of the plat that I got in the accessories pack. So I've got my shiny Chroma Prime. He looks much better than I thought, which is another thing. He looks really good. And I guess if anyone else has him, they'll have seen that as well. So he looks really quite good, actually. So go out there, get your Chroma Prime. I will mention something about Chroma Prime later in the episode in regards to his abilities and all that kind of jazz, but we'll just leave it at that for now. The next piece of news was something that we missed last week, actually. Pablo from the Digital Extremes team was on Twitter last week, mentioning that they are going to add the ability to swap the positions of your appearance configs. It's not a huge change, but basically if your favorite appearance tab when it comes to your appearances on your Warframes is B as opposed to A, you'll be able to swap it with A. So every time you load up that character, it will load up as that particular appearance. Not a massive thing, but definitely something that I've been wanting for a while because, it turns out some of my best fashion frames are always in the B and C slots, and I have to fiddle around with it whenever I load them up. So I'm looking forward to that.
Well, yeah, that's understandable. I mean, most of the time you end up doing your best fashion frames later on in the game, so usually it ends up taking up those later slots.
Yeah, exactly, because you always tend to like your first one as well that you made. You get attached to things, so yes, that's a good thing.
And then you realize you've done it better.
Yeah, exactly. And you can tweak it any old time. So that was that, and I'm looking forward to that change coming. I don't know when it's coming. It may already have hit PC. I'm not sure. I don't think it has. It should be in the next update. Xbox is going to be getting... So this was something that Xbox themselves or Microsoft themselves announced. The Xbox system is going to be getting mouse and keyboard support in a future update, and one of the first games to trial that will be Warframe. So if you do play on Xbox and you'd love to get your hands on keyboard and mouse for that particular system, soon you will be able to. So it's an interesting addition. The game definitely plays different on keyboard and mouse. I can say that now that I've played across all of those different systems. Do I prefer controller? Yes, but only because I'm so used to it. The keyboard and mouse controls are just so much more accurate, and because there's so many different buttons and key bindings you can do, you get a lot more control over the game, but they've done well with the controller, I have to say. If keyboard and mouse came to PS4, would you use it, Lucas?
I'd give it a try. I honestly would give it a try. Probably play maybe a week or two solidly of just keyboard and mouse, just to make sure that I had a good understanding of how it feels. I mean, I have done a little bit of PC Warframe myself in recent weeks, but my PC is too shit to actually be able to play a proper game. It's definitely potato. I would definitely give that a bit of a tryout properly if it ever came to PS4.
Yeah, I think I'd stick with the PS4 controller myself, but I do like playing it on PC with a keyboard and mouse. So it's one of those weird little things, but it's still pretty cool. And just the fact that the Xbox itself is getting keyboard and mouse support is pretty interesting. I wonder what the future holds. So that is all of the news. So there were 3 little bits, and one of them wasn't even a piece of news. It was just that Chroma Prime was released. So there wasn't much that was announced during the week, no little Twitter tidbits that came out. There was a new forum that DE released. They made some changes and updates to the forum, and they added a Switch page in the forum, but that's not massive news. Really, the news was all Devstream, and that's what we will be going on to now. So let's do it, because it was pretty big. They went over a lot of little bits of details. It was a bit of a pain in the ass, to be honest. So the first thing they mentioned in the dev stream was that the Xbox will be getting mouse and keyboard support. So yay, we knew about that. They also then indicated that the console update threads will be coming next week. Now, they didn't specifically state that means that they'll be submitted to CERT next week, but the threads don't usually get released until they're submitted to CERT. So that is a very strong indication that this coming week, the console update will be heading to CERT, which means probably the week after we should be seeing all those updates. Do you remember what it was you mentioned last week was going to be in there?
Pyrus event, Plague Star, the rest of Tenor Gen Round 13, and
the Revenant changes.
And Nezha changes.
Yeah, so it's again a pretty massive update, and one we should be looking forward to, because Plague Star is really cool, for one, and we haven't had the Pyrus project, and we get a new weapon, so that's super awesome as well. So
a new secondary weapon.
Exactly. That's what I meant. But yes, but specifically, yes, a new secondary, a mini Sybaris. So I'm looking forward to that.
Oh yes, all looking forward.
So Steve Sinclair then took the stage, so to speak, to say that Digital Extremes recognizes there's a content drought. And I really appreciated him actually mentioning that. I didn't expect them to say that. And to be honest, I never would have expected them to say it, and I never really would have wanted them to say it. It was just not something that came to my head. But when he mentioned there is a content drought, they're aware of it, and they're working to do as much as they can as possible. It was good just to hear that, just to hear the developer acknowledge that, yes, we know there's not much to do in Warframe at the moment if you've done everything. Yeah, because that's where the players are at. I mean, Lucas and I have been playing a lot of Destiny recently because there's just not much else to do. We've done a lot of things. Sure, there's a lot we can still do. I'm not mastery rank 25, for example. I haven't unlocked all of my focus classes. I'm not top reputation in Cetus or the Quills, but they can wait, and I'm happy with where I'm at. So there's nothing for me to do. What did you think of that?
I thought it was fantastic. As you said, we didn't really expect it. We didn't really want it, but it actually kind of hit home when Steve actually turned around and acknowledged that that they know that they're in a drought. That they understand that the player base is kind of getting a little bit rowdy at the moment because there is nothing.
Yeah, and they kind of changed gears as well. So a lot of the people who've been playing Warframe for a long time are used to smaller, more frequent updates. But ever since they started working on the big open areas, they've been kind of working on the massive update once a year kind of schedule, which is great. And in between that, there's new primes and there's new Warframes and there's a couple of new events and things like that, but it's just not really enough to sustain. Mission. Yeah, there was the new story mission and things like that, but it just wasn't a lot. It wasn't enough to sustain things, I think. And I think the planes as well, just the way they designed things, it wasn't something that, unless you were prepared to go in there and smash the Eidolons, it's not really something, there's not much to do there.
No,
so,
there's really not.
I mean, you can fish, you can do all those kind of things if you really wanted to, but if you're not prepared, if you're not going there as an end game thing, there's just nothing to do. You go in, do a couple of bounties, and you leave. So I think Fortuna is going to be different based on a few things they've said, but yeah, so I don't think we'll have that problem with Fortuna, but we shall see. So there is a content drought. They've acknowledged that. The next PC update that's coming soon, real soon apparently, is going to be what they're calling a mainline to prepare for Fortuna. So mainline basically means that it's going to include a whole lot of new code, changes to the game, updates to the game, etc. And as a result of that, it will be sort of a lead-in to Fortuna. They also mentioned that after that, Fortuna will drop, and then a little while after that, they will drop some more content. So basically what they said was when they started developing Fortuna, they got a little overzealous and started to really build things out and then realized, shit, if we put all of this into one content drop, it's going to take us forever. So they've split it out a little bit. And I'm perfectly okay with that. If they give us pretty much everything they've shown us now, and then they give us more stuff at the end of the year, no complaints from me.
Oh no, definitely not. That just means that this content will actually spread out over a longer period of time, which means it will be less of a content drought for the next update to come after. So yeah, I'm happy with that.
The rest of the year is pretty clear once this this mainline update comes out, and then who knows when Railjack's coming, and that's gonna add a whole lot more. So fingers crossed. There looks like there's a lot of good stuff coming. So the next thing they showed off was the next round of Tenogen.
Wow.
Exactly, and there's too much for us to really go into individually, because there was, oh shit, how many things do you think there were? 30 different items?
Close to.
Yeah, so we're not going to go through all of them individually. You'll see them soon enough anyway. They had a whole bunch of weapon skins. There was a massive anime style, massive heavy blade, which looked pretty cool. There was the Grax, what do you call it?
Rapier.
rapier, as well as another one. I didn't know there were 2 rapiers that had been submitted, and I like the other one better, to be honest. So I was
the other one had a bit of a Soul Calibur feel to it, didn't it?
Yeah, that's why I liked it. Exactly. Yeah. So that one looked really, really cool. There were a couple of Equinox skins, which was surprising because I don't think she's had any. It has had any. Equinox is an interesting frame, so it's good to see that Equinox is getting a bit of love. There were a few helmets, there were some Cyandanas, and for the first time there was some Operator Tenogen where they showed off some masks and bling, I guess, for the operators. So there was shitloads of stuff. Facial accessories, whatevs, bling. What from what you saw, what was your favorite thing, and why is it Zephyr Grax?
You knew that I was going to go straight to the Zephyr.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
it's the hilarious joke.
Well, it's actually a bit of a toss-up. There was 3 items in particular that really caught my attention. Zephyr Grax, of course, being one. And looking at the I never thought I would actually enjoy the appearance of a Grineer-based Zephyr. But I got to say, this was very well done. I like the dark, the dark aesthetic that they've kind of gone with, and the feet in particular, the actual like talons. That is just absolutely fucking beautiful. Just gonna drop that right there. That is beautiful, giving Zephyr talons for feet. Fantastic.
I didn't notice the feet. I'll have to go check it out. Interesting. Faven does a really bloody good job of the Graxes.
Oh yes.
I reckon he's on an 80% strike in terms of hitting the nail on the head. A couple of them are a little bit hit and miss, or maybe they're up to the eye of the beholder, but he's done a great job.
Yeah. The second one was probably the other Grax that is getting released, the Limbo Grax.
Thought you were going to say that.
It's basically Commandeer Limbo. Like, come on, space pirates. Amazing.
I was really impressed with that, actually, and the timing was good because he did his little hats off to Larry routine, and it does look really good. You know me, I absolutely hate Limbo. I just think it looks ridiculous. But that Grax Limbo skin is really good, so I'm pretty keen on that. You did like the Weird Lantern?
The Weird Lantern. So this was a Syndana, and it's essentially just a lantern that hangs off your back. I don't know why I find this so appealing, but it's unique. It's different. It's something we don't have. It's a lantern on your back.
I liked it as well. It had a very sort of Bloodborne look and feel to it.
Yeah.
I'm not a massive fan of Bloodborne or anything like that, but I like the aesthetic of Bloodborne, and that just sort of resonated with me. I like that. So I don't know who it would fit with, but hey, we shall see. So there's a lot of good stuff coming, and I'm looking forward to that. There was a Nick skin that I also quite liked as well.
Yes.
Glowy bits to her, so I'm pretty keen to see some of those guys. So,
and that Gara skin.
Oh, wow. The Gara skin. That's a must buy. Absolute must buy.
Must buy. Don't even question it. Just buy it.
Yeah, we mentioned it. Oh, I don't know, episode 6, something like that. I think it was called the Zamairu Gara skin. It's amazing. It's really, really good. It's got a bit of a samurai look and feel to it. Looks amazing.
Yeah, with a very mosaic like color scheme. So I quite do like that.
Yeah, fantastic job. All right, so that was the Tenogen. They then went into a little bit of discussion around Railjack. It was really just showing off some concept art. I think what they wanted to do was show off everything that's coming, to show that there's a hell of a lot that is coming. Yes, there's a content round, but look at all this shit that's in the pipeline. And we know about all of it. I'd rather just see it come out. But then again, I don't want it to come out until it's ready. So so there were big ships that they were showing off. There were little fighters that are coming as well, weapons and consoles, and lots of little concept designs that are coming.
New enemy ships, new enemy fighters.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so much. I'm really hoping it turns out to be as good as they've portrayed it to be.
Yeah, because the way it's being built up and the way I think all the fans of Warframe are building it up in their minds is it's almost going to be like a bloody what was that game called? Very popular game from the 90s. It was a Wing Commander. I think people are starting to think that, oh my God, Wing Commander is coming to Warframe, and I don't think it is, but at the same time, it kind of is. So it's looking amazing, and it could be absolutely amazing, or it could be disappointing, and we don't know. I don't think it's going to be disappointing, but it might not be exactly what we're building it up to be. So I think we've got to be cautious. But damn, it looks good.
Oh yeah. I especially like the fact that they've mentioned that you can actually alter the engine thrusters. They're going to have different engine thrusters that they've kind of shown off. So that's going to be interesting. So basically, you can not only can you alter the design of your ship through colors and all that kind of stuff, but you can also change the appearance through your thrusters, the weapons you have equipped to it. It's gonna change it up quite a lot. It's definitely turning out to be probably something I'm hoping I can spend a lot of hours in.
Exactly, and I think it will be. But one of the other things they showed off in terms of the concept art was the scale of the railjack itself. So they showed off one other room that had never really been showed off. They didn't even show off a room. They showed off a schematic of it, really. And it demonstrated that there's actually 3 levels to the railjack. And this one level was probably as big as everything else they've already shown us in the game. And it's going to be absolutely massive, and there's going to be a role. You may have forgotten that there are fire extinguishers on board, and if there's any damage that's taken and a console lights on fire, you've got to run with your fire extinguisher and put that out. And with the size of the ship, it's not actually going to be something that's really simple. You are going to have to be jumping around the ship and going crazy, and it's probably going to get pretty hectic at times. So I'm really keen, but they just didn't mention anything with regards to any expected delivery date.
No, all they really said was it's not going to come out with Fortuna, and it's something you probably expect next year at some point.
Yeah, which is fair enough. I mean, we pretty much expected that, but I don't want it now.
Yeah.
Anyway, the next thing they showed was something I think nobody expected at all, ever. They're going to give us the ability to use Arcwing weapons on land. So not necessarily the melee weapons because of the size of those and the scope of those while you're using them in the air. But things like...
Not to mention also having to first finish up with Melee 3.0. So
yes, exactly. So I don't think the melee weapons are anywhere near coming along. But basically what Steve mentioned was the fact that now on Plains of Eidolon, when you use your Arcwing, you're using your currently equipped weapons. What about all the Arcwing weapons? What are they going to do with those? So they're basically creating a new weapon category that I guess are like super heavy weapons that the Imperator and, all of those kind of weapons are going to fit into. The Decurion and, the Phaedra and all those kind of things.
Yeah.
The Fluctus. And so you'll be able to use those on land. They'll be far more powerful than everything else, but, they'll take time to wind up or wind down. They might overheat, things like that. So it's I was blown away by that. It's really cool.
Yeah. They also did mention that they're trying to tweak it around, make it more balanced at the moment. So it may end up being that instead of having a primary and secondary weapon equipped, you instead have this massive monstrosity of a cannon. So being able to alternate between these kind of things. So you go back to your drop ship, swap out the heavy cannon gun, whatever, Arcwing weapon for your primary and secondary again. I think this is going to be a good change. So this is going to be interesting.
That makes it more worthwhile. If you're going to actually choose to put on this super powerful weapon, you can't have a secondary. That's a good idea. I like that. I didn't notice that. So yeah, like I said, I don't think anyone was expecting that, but cool. Okay, bring it on. Gives me a reason, and like that, they actually said it gives people a reason to hunt down more Arcwing components, because at the moment, unless you're a mastery whore like I am, there's just no reason to do it. So,
yeah.
There is a reason for me, though. Anyway, so alongside these Arcwing weapons, they do plan to improve Arcwing itself, along with the release of Railjack. So they're going to, of course, make Arcwing just perform better, basically, is what they said. There was no real details around that. There were no target release dates or anything like that. But yeah, there are going to be some Arcwing tweaks. So hopefully Arcwing will be better in the future, because I don't think I'm out of turn in saying that Arcwing is pretty much everyone's most hated mission type. So, the next thing they showed after going from that, like I said, they just kept jumping from thing to thing. They showed off the Jupiter remaster again. So in the past, what they've done is they've just shown us different tiles, individual tiles, and hey, look at this, and concept art and things like that. Yeah. This time they actually had a whole level mapped out, and you could then Rebecca was just jumping from place to place, running around, showing how each of the components join, combine, etc. And for the first time, they didn't just refer to it as Gas City. They referred to it as the Jupiter remaster, which is fantastic, because there were still a lot of people out there saying that it was Venus, and it wasn't. It was Jupiter. So I'm glad they clarified that. And it just blows me away every time I see it. It blows me away because it's amazing. It looks really, really good. They've the artwork that they've put into it, the skyboxes, especially in the background. I was playing on IO earlier yesterday, I think, and I did go and have a look at the skybox there. The skybox that they've got there is actually already pretty impressive. I'd never looked at it before, but I just decided to take a look at it yesterday, and it already is pretty impressive, but far out. The new one is even more impressive by leaps and bounds.
Oh yeah. It does look amazing. I'm really looking forward to the maneuverability that is expected in this new level. You know, all the different parkour things that they've added to it. Not only that, but also the fact that they've said that this is going to have new lore to it, new enemies, and even a little bit of a story that connects with Alad V up to the main storyline. So this is going to be amazing. Really looking forward to it. I love it when they give levels like this a complete makeover, like they did with the Grenier Forest on Earth. Like, that was fantastic, and I'm absolutely looking forward to this one too.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I just started the game when they updated the Grenier Forest. That was when I started, so I don't even think I saw what it looked like prior. So yeah, this is cool. I'm excited by it. They did say that they're expecting it by the end of fall, which is the end of spring for us here in Australia. So basically by the end of November, which is only a month, and well, it's 2 full months. We're only at the start of October now, so it's two months. Anytime within the next 2 months, it is going to drop, and it is exciting stuff. Is it going to drop with Fortuna? Is it going to be part of the mainline update? Who knows? But it's coming soon.
That is actually something interesting, because in the past they have said that they were planning to get it out before Fortuna, but now it looks like that it may either drop with Fortuna or just after. So that's actually quite interesting. It must be a lot of hard work that they've put into these interesting little tidbits that they haven't shown us yet from the Cloud City. So
yeah, but there's also probably there's got to be a component of we can't release everything at once.
Yeah,
and if it's story related, you've got to drip it you've got to drip feed, you've got to choose what's the most important story to release and whether or not something should be released before other things in terms of, the story that's told within it and things like that. So I think it's probably fairly complex in terms of that kind of stuff. Anyway, Steve then went on to mention that the login changes are coming really soon. In fact, they're coming with the next PC mainline update, which sounds like it's only a week or two away by the sounds of what they were saying, but it could be by the end of October, we'll see. So that includes the new login screen, the changes to being able to select what you get in terms of your 50, 100, 200, 300, 150, whatever day rewards. But they have listened to the long-term players, and they've chosen for the 800-day and the 1,000-day rewards to remain 800 days and 1,000-day rewards. So you won't be able to select for those particular ones. And basically what that means is once you've hit 800 days, that's the only way that you can get that specific cosmetic. And once you've hit 1,000 days, that's the only way you can get that armor set, which is a really, really good idea. And it's a good solution to what the long-term veteran players were sort of disappointed about. Something else they mentioned was that after 1,000 days, there'll be big resource drops every 50 days. They mentioned 50,000 Kuva, which is massive. I don't know if they're going to go ahead with that because that's a really big number, but they said it several times. So what were your thoughts there?
I'm actually glad that they've decided to keep a couple of the major cosmetics. The login 800-day reward being a Sindana, and the 1,000-day being the armor set. That's fantastic. It really does give you something to work towards if you want to, kind of be recognized as a long-term player. So, fantastic. That's great. 50,000 Kuva seems way too excessive in my opinion, but in saying that, by the time you've reached that kind of time length in the game, you probably are looking at Riven costs that kind of rival 50,000. So you probably end up burning through 50,000 in a single sitting of trying to re-roll a Riven, to be honest.
Yeah, or even, the reality is you probably got 30 Rivens by that stage anyway, and you just haven't gotten around to rolling some of them. So 50,000 you'll burn through really quickly.
Oh, yeah. So I guess from my perspective at the moment, it's a hell of a lot of Kuva.
Yeah.
But that's my perspective at the moment. I may reach that point and think, holy shit, I've got no Kuva.
Yeah, that's exactly the amount I need.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's just around the corner. So it's really cool. It looks really nice. We'll see it coming up soon. And apparently it's going to have not really lore tidbits, but there'll be characters that introduce you as you log into the game. So, for example, Darvo might say something to you, or Nefanu or someone might say something as you're logging into the game. So that's pretty cool as well. They did have George from the sound team come on. Last week they kind of made it sound like it was going to be a sound-based Devstream, but it wasn't at all. He chimed in a couple of times during the Devstream to make little notes, and that's why I've brought him up now, because he did basically say that while Melee 3.0 is not ready to be released just yet, there are going to be some sound updates that are coming with the mainline that's going to freshen up a lot of the Melee sounds. So he referred to swooshes and smashes and things like that that are going to change just to sort of freshen up the sounds. And I suppose because there's going to be a lot of moves that are different when Melee 3.0 comes out, they need to have some of those new sounds. So that's interesting. See where that goes. On the Melee 3.0 front, like I said, it's not ready to go. It won't be on the mainline update. But they are still working on it. It's not too far away, but it's not as close as they wanted it to be. Channeling is still going to be like a kind of switched on or toggled rage mode which sounds amazing because it'll be useful. And that will be shown off in a future dev stream. So I'm really keen on channeling now.
I am too. Like the idea of basically going Super Saiyan Warframe. Then essentially, I mean, it's going to be interesting how they implement it, because all they've really said so far is it's going to be a rage mode kind of thing, a switch on, switch off rage mode. What is it going to actually entitle? Is it going to have like a duration timer? Is it what kind of abilities is it going to allow you to access or tap into? I want to know more about it.
Yeah, and time will tell. We'll see that, but they kind of indicated it would be time-based, but hey, we'll wait and see, and hopefully it's not too far away, because I am frothing at the bit to try that melee stuff, the new melee stuff. I'll quickly go through the next couple of bits because they are quick. Steve chimed in to mention that they've been working on the lighting, so particularly when you're fighting Eidolons in dark environments, the way that they had sort of worked on bright flashes within those environments was really kind of blinding players, and they've basically made some changes to the lighting in those effects so that they're not so blinding and that they look better. So that's a good thing coming soon. He also mentioned that the work that Panic Button is doing on the Nintendo Switch, when they're going through the code, they say, hey, we think we can improve this. And they're going through and they're actually doing that. And what that means is that every platform is actually getting optimizations as a result of the work that Panic Button is doing on the Nintendo Switch, because some of that code that's been there for 5 years, they just haven't had a chance to go back to look at and clean up. And the Panic Button guys are doing that. And it's working out for everyone.
Fantastic.
Anyway, kit guns. That's what they advertised that this whole dev stream was going to be about. They they showed it off for all of 5 seconds. Well, it was a bit longer than 5 seconds. They probably showed it for a minute out of the an hour and 15 minutes that this episode, the dev stream went for. So they basically logged into Fortuna. They went over to, what's his name? The guy. I've forgotten his name already. Soon we won't be able to forget him, but yeah, they went to the kit gun guy.
Something. It was Rude something.
Oh, yeah, Rude. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Rude dude. So they purchased a couple of pieces from him. So the components there are the chamber, the grip, and the loader. Each component changes the stats and the weapon type, of course. The chamber and the grip, there are only a couple of parts each that I noticed, 3, 4, 5 each. But the loader, there were shitloads of different variations. I did notice a couple of references to beam weapons as well. So it sounds like not only are we going to have the ability to build secondaries, but we're pretty much going to have the ability to build any kind of secondary that floats our boat. And I am very keen on that. That sounds really, really cool. So
yes. I think the way that they've gone about it is very similar to the Zors from Plains of Eidolon, how they only initially released 5 or 6 different blades, 5 or 6 different handles, and then all the links. There was like all of 15 or 20 links. I can't remember. I never really went through and counted. But essentially, I think that's what they're going to be doing with the kit guns, and loaders will essentially be like deciding whether or not you're using a critical or a status-based weapon.
So it's going to be good.
Yeah, so all the combinations, I'm already lost as to what I even want to build. I just know I'm going to have so much fun with it.
Yeah, it's going to be good. And the one that Rebecca built looked really cool. It reminded me, just to switch games completely for a second, for any of those Destiny players out there, it reminded me of some of the weapons that you got from the Taken King raid, the Kingsfall raid, the bony looking stuff. And that's why it really appealed to me when she built that weapon. Of course, that's not what all the weapons are going to look like, but that particular one just really appealed to me. So I am looking forward to it, and that was the end of the initial kit gun section. So
That was
then, yeah, that was it. They showed off a minute worth. They went up to the Vent Kids. They talked about some of the Vent Kid stuff. This just keeps blowing my goddamn mind. So I think because the deck art has been so popular and so well received, they've just been creating more. They've got series of artwork, and they showed off the boss series, which had like Nefanyo and Kalidathane,
Caladathane before.
yeah, and they just look
Sargus Rook.
fucking brilliant. I cannot
they
wait
look
to have
amazing.
them. And they're not just going to be things that you can put on the bottom of your deck, but they're also going to be artwork that you can put into your ship. It's just going to be fantastic, and you earn those via K-Drive activities, whether it's racing or whatever. Just release Fortuna. Just release Fortuna. I need it.
Yeah, they did say that they're also adding. They've got a brother and sister NPC set up there,
Yes.
where I think it's sister is in charge of the K-Drive races, and the brother is more about the K-Drive tricks. So that's going to be interesting, learning more about the things.
It sounds like it might be a dual grind or something, a dual reputation grind. Interesting. Bring it to us now, please. Pretty please. Polite please. Yes, so along with the mainline update that's coming soon, the Infinite Arcwing Summons is coming. They demonstrated it live on screen. There was immediate activation. In fact, there's immediate activation between the Arcwing and the K-Drive. And if you're a PC player, you can map those buttons so that you can quickly do a button press and change between them on the fly. Looked amazing. Whether or not you'd use them a lot in practice is a different story, but looked fun.
This is fantastic because now you no longer have to throw down the transmitter orb and wait for your Arcwing to hit the ground. It's just essentially you select it, you jump straight into Arcwing.
Yeah,
That's great.
I'm looking forward to that because it is a pain in the ass having to wait, and it'll give you a reason to just switch and start on the fly. Because at the moment, the way it is, I don't like using it because I keep thinking, oh, I only have to use it for 30 seconds. Is it worth it?
Yeah. That's why I just go Zephyr. Just Zephyr. Just fly through the sky. Don't even bother using the charges.
Won't have to use Zephyr anymore.
Oh, wait. Yes, I will.
I won't have to. Anyway, but I do like Zephyr. I have grown to love her recently. I haven't told you that, Lucas, but
One of us.
So back to the K-Drive, they mentioned that there's going to be a whole bunch of different kind of mods. Of course, there's going to be stat mods for statistics, and there's going to be style mods as well. So there's going to be certain mods when you do tricks, you'll be able to use them offensively. So tricks can do damage to enemies, which is really interesting. You'll be able to dismount in the air, do a little aim glide while you're shooting enemies in their dumb faces, and then recall to the K-Drive all before hitting the ground, and you'll get style points for that and things like that. So there's a whole bunch they showed off with the K-Drive. It's just going to be absolutely amazing. Sick of talking about it. I want it in the game. I know it's coming. I've got to be careful. Not careful, patient. They then showed off the Corpus Glaive, which is really... I mean, we knew it was coming, and they didn't really mention it. They just were suddenly using it.
Yeah.
It looks good. It's going to be another glaive. There were no sound effects for it. I don't know what to say about it. Do you have anything to say about the Corpus Glaive?
Not really. I didn't. I tried paying attention as much as possible. It was early in the morning, so I was trying to see if there was any unique feature to its power throw, but I honestly couldn't see anything. It just kind of looked very normal.
There's nothing wrong with glaives. I'm looking forward to it. New weapon, cool. But yeah,
more mastery. But as far as unique capabilities go, we'll have to wait until it actually gets thrown into the game to see if there is anything remotely unique about it. It looks great.
Well, it is unique. It is a laser glaive, so that's cool. So,
just looking at it, it just reminds me of like it's kind of just like a reskinned Orvius at the moment. To be honest,
kind of. So we'll see how it goes, I guess.
Yeah.
They then whipped out their Orb Valus map. It was massive. Absolutely huge. It's hard to put into context because we haven't been in the game, but with what they've shown off and trying to map those pieces of what they've shown off onto the map itself, it just looks like it's going to be 4 times the size of the Plains of Eidolon, and I'm really keen. And something you were excited about was that the elevator is going to be in the center of that map.
Yeah. So the elevator for Fortuna is actually has been stated that is located in the center of the map. So basically, there's going to be no look for the edge of the map to find Fortuna. It's going to be head to the center. So I don't know if there's. I didn't really see any landmarks properly in the center to really say if it's going to be easy to find. But because they put it in the middle, it makes the map feel bigger.
Yes.
A lot bigger. Honestly, I think from everything that they've shown us so far for Orb Valus, I would say that they've probably shown us a quarter of the map.
Yeah, probably. They've shown us bugger all, is what you're saying.
Yeah. So it feels like they've shown us a lot, but when you look at the map, it's like there's no way they've shown us even remotely half of that.
Yeah, they seem to be just flying around the same areas all the time, which is good. Yeah. It'll be good to find new things.
Yeah.
Apart from that, they also looked at the caves. So we knew there were caves in the game. But, I guess if you're like me, you were hoping they weren't like the Plains of Eidolon caves, because the Plains of Eidolon caves are a pain in the ass.
And they're kind of boring.
And they're dull and boring, and some of them have water in them, and if you get in the water, you die. I just hate it. But these ones are different. They really look amazing. Once you go in there, you're almost in a different world. There's glowing mushrooms on the walls and things like that. It was really kind of like an 80s style sci-fi, like Lost Planet kind of vibe to it, which just blew my mind. And I cannot wait to get in there and have some fun. Apparently you can use them as shortcuts to get around the map if you know what you're doing. And there's also a K-Drive race. So they did a race through the cave. Didn't look like fun, but they did a race through the cave. What were your thoughts on that?
I hope that's not the only race through the cave. It looked fairly basic and very simplistic. And yeah, also painful with the fact that you kept Rebecca kept bouncing into the wall, so that was quite painful. But the caves in general, I feel like they actually tie into the map properly. Like looking at the cave systems on the plains, they felt like their own separate places. They didn't feel like they actually were a part of the Plains of Eidolon. The caves in Orb Valus so far looking like they belong. It's not a misplaced concept. It's something that is actually supposed to be there.
Yeah, it's a world of its own.
Yeah, and I love that. That's fantastic. And it also increases the size of Orb Valus. We've now got a 3D dimension for the travel through Orb Valus, which we did not have that on the plains. So this is going to add a whole lot more exploration to the game. I'm going to be interested in seeing what else they do with the cave systems, because honestly, they are that big that they could probably throw in a complete new. I don't want to say game style, but I want to say something like I don't know, like new enemy type.
So you want Warframe spelunking?
Yeah, something like that. I mean, okay, it'd be cool if they did the if you had the opportunity to do the what is it, the animal tranking through caves.
They mentioned that.
They did mention that? Oh,
They
awesome.
did mention that. They said there's actually that was one of the things I was just about to mention. There's certain animal types that are only available in the caves.
That's fantastic. That is exactly what I want. Something that really ties in the caves to the rest of the open map, and that's perfect. Honestly, that's perfect.
Yeah, it's going to be really cool. And on the hunting front, they acknowledged that there was some, the last Devstream wasn't perfect. So they tried to show off the improvements on this Devstream, and it's still not perfect, to be honest.
Still not perfect. It's working a hell of a lot better, but it's still not perfect.
But it's still not perfect. So there's a lot of work they've got to do, but it still looks amazing. It still looks like a lot of fun. And the fact that there's going to be specific dudes you can get from specific places, and the caves are going to have their own little critters in them is really cool. I like that.
Habitat specific creatures. That's fantastic.
So they also, again, George piped up and showed off some of the different tools that the sound team uses to make some of the sounds in the game. Nothing really worth mentioning in there, but that is something that was on the dev stream, so I thought I'd mention it. And lastly, they are hoping that Fortuna is not too far away, but the PC mainline is first. So we just need to know that once that PC mainline comes out, the next update that comes to PC will be Fortuna. So we're only 2 updates away, and considering they do updates every 2 to 3 weeks, well, let's say 2 to 4 weeks, we're probably 1 to 2 months away from Fortuna.
Yeah.
Exciting times. Anyway, that was all of Devstream 117. What were you going to say?
I'm going to say I'm hoping for either end of October, start of November.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for.
That's about the time frame I'm expecting, which means console could probably expect it late November, early December.
Yeah, similar to what it was
before
with
Christmas.
Plains of Eidolon.
Yeah, before Christmas.
Fingers crossed. Yeah, and considering Switch comes out November 20th, I would expect that they will be trying to get Nintendo Switch to coincide with the console release of Fortuna and have Fortuna as the full release of the Nintendo Switch. That's my thoughts. So I would be expecting that console will be getting Fortuna around that November 20th date. That's just my thoughts, of course. I don't think I'm far off the mark, though.
No, it makes perfect sense. But I'm just keep in mind that they haven't actually got a full blown time set. They are trying to get it out as fast as possible, but don't hold your breath for any specific dates.
No, they haven't announced a time, but I would bet that internally they have a time. And realistically, you wouldn't want to be releasing the Nintendo Switch without Fortuna, I would think.
That's a fair statement.
So we shall see. Again, like you said, we can't expect that it's going to be that way, but I got good feelings in the bones, in the blood, in the ether. Anyway, that was Devstream 107. Lots of stuff. It was really, really kind of haphazard and all over the shop. I think they just wanted to show off, like I said, everything that they've got coming. There's a lot coming, so much coming. Lots to look forward to, but
117.
Yeah, it's just, again, showing off more stuff every week. Let's release some shit. But that's what they're trying to do. So don't push them. It will come. Anyway, on to our beginner's topic for this week. So this week I've chosen to look at the quests themselves. So we have had a look at mission types. We've had a look at all sorts of different things. But one of the things we haven't really talked about as yet are the quests. Because there's so many of them, there's a shitload of quests, I think is the technical number that I came to when I was counting them. Exactly one shitload. And how many of them do you need to do? How many of them are optional? As a new player, what is the core storyline? I think one of the things that Warframe doesn't do terribly well is let you know what the core storyline is. I think realistically they should probably look at highlighting that when you're looking at the quests in the codex. So maybe have all of the core storyline surrounded by a border of a specific color, and anything that's optional could be a different color, something like that. That could help people understand. But until then, it would work, because I remember when I started, I was like, oh, okay, what's the main quest? Is a man of few words? Is that an actual part of the main quest line? It's not. So I thought what I would do is look at what the actual quest order is, without any spoilers. So for the quests of the main storyline, it starts out, of course, with War's Prize, because that is the training tutorial, I guess is the term. Onto Once Awake, and then the Arcwing. So by that time, you should be heading off of Mars. You then move into Stolen Dreams, where you meet Maru. And once you've gotten through those ones, so War's Prize, Once Awake, the Arcwing, and Stolen Dreams, they are really just sort of the initial, what's the word? They're kind of administrative quests. They're just giving you little bits and pieces. They're teaching you little things. So Stolen Dreams kind of teaches you about spy missions and introduces you to Maru. The Arcwing gives you your Arcwing. War's Prize is a tutorial. So really, those are sort of administrative quests that you have to do to progress the game, but they're not the start of the big main story. The big main story starts with A New Strange. So A New Strange, Natar, and The Second Dream are kind of a trilogy of their own. The main trilogy really is The Second Dream, The War Within, and The Sacrifice. That's the main trilogy of the game. But each of them have their own little sections. A New Strange, Natar, and The Second Dream are all directly related to each other. Then there's The War Within. The War Within is its own self-contained little story. Then there's The Chains of Harrow, which is its own separate little story that, in a way, feels like an optional quest, because most of the optional quests give you some lore into the Warframe that you're given at the end of that quest, and they give you a Warframe at the end of the quest. So Chains of Harrow is obviously about the Warframe Harrow, and it gives you some details about him, but it's also part of the main quest line. You have to do Chains of Harrow to continue. And when you play that, you'll understand why, or you may or may not understand why, and we really need to start doing those spoiler casts to get into the lore. But Chains of Harrow is a main part of the quest. It follows into Apostasy Prologue. The Apostasy Prologue isn't really a quest. It's in there because it technically is a quest according to the codex of the game, but you don't do anything apart from click on something in your ship, and that it's really just a cutscene. And after that, you move into the Sacrifice. So that's the progression. War's Prize, Once Awake, the Arcwing, Stolen Dream, The New Strange, Natar, The Second Dream, The War Within, Chains of Harrow, Apostasy Prologue, The Sacrifice, and whatever comes next, The New War. So that's the main quest. If all you want to do is get through the storyline as fast as possible, they're the only ones you need to do initially. So don't worry about any of the others unless you want the specific Warframe that you get in that optional quest. You don't have to worry about them all. You can ignore them completely. It's up to you. That's the beauty of Warframe. You always get to choose, but they're the main quests. There are a whole bunch of optional quests. So A Man of Few Words introduces you to Clem. If you don't know Clem, when you're fighting the Grineer, you'll hear the Grineer, sometimes they'll say, "Get Clem!" And what that's meant to mean, it's basically the Grineer language. It means get them. But the way they speak is a little bit fucked up, basically, and they say Clem instead of them. So that's been around in the game for a long, long time, and fans of Warframe built that into a meme for a long, long time. So DE decided to release... Yeah, go on.
Go on, what?
Oh, I thought you said something. I must have I was getting a bit of feedback in my microphone. DE decided to acknowledge that, and they released A Man of Few Words, and they released an actual character named Clem. So when you do that quest, you'll be introduced to Clem. Sire's Vigil is a quest that happens on Earth in Cetus and awards you with the Gara Warframe. Howl of the Kubro is an early quest that gives you your cute little doggo. Limbo Theorem gives you the Limbo Warframe. Hidden Messages gives you the Mirage Warframe. Sands of Inaros gives you the Inaros Warframe. Excuse me, had a silent cough. The Silver Grove gives you Titania and is also the introduction to the Grove that Lucas has been talking about over the last couple of weeks and will finalise today. The Glass Gambit awards you with Nidus in the long run. Octavia's Anthem gives you Octavia. And Patient Zero gives you Mesa in the long run again. And lastly, sorry, I've been talking so much, I've got a dry throat. The Jordis Precept awards you with Atlas if you love doing Arcwing. And nobody does. It is one of the hardest bloody bosses to beat in the stupid game. I love my Atlas. I love my Atlas. Anyway, those are all of the optional quests and what you get from them. You don't need to worry about them until you want to. Anything you want to add there, Lucas?
Just want to add that now with some of the optional quests and one of the actual proper quest lines in general, so Chains of Harrow, the Silver Grove, the Glass Gambit, and Octavia's Anthem, they are all syndicate-specific quests. So they all go into a bit of the background story behind each of the corresponding syndicates. So Octavia's Anthem was
Cephalon
Suda. The Glass Gambit was Parent Sequence. Silver Grove was New Loka, and the Chains of Harrow is actually for the Red Veil. So, yeah, it's interesting just to look at those and see exactly how those syndicates actually exist. So, yeah,
good point. And Chains of Harrow is both Red Veil and it has a little bit of a tie-in into the Steel Meridian as well with Iron Wake.
Yep.
So, you're right. There's a whole lot, and that's probably something I didn't. Well, it's definitely something I didn't mention. Each one of these quests has a hell of a lot of lore in them as well. So it's not just that you do a quest and you get awarded with a Warframe. There's a story behind all of them as to where the Warframe came from, who they are. The Sands of Inaros quest is amazing. The story that it goes into, it actually tells the story of Barrow Katia. So pay attention to that one as well. That's kind of mind blowing to see what he went through as a child.
Yeah, that actually was one of my favorite ones. That had a lot of good mechanics to it too. A lot of fun, and as you said, great story. Really lets you look into the life of Barrow Katia. And if you don't know who Barrow Katia is, he is the fortnightly void trader that comes to relays.
Exactly. So check that stuff out. But all of those are optional. Quest order we went into. That's really all I wanted to cover for this beginner's topic. So moving on, we have the final part of the Silver Grove farming.
Silver Grove Part 3. So finally, we're going down to the Twilight Apothec. So I'm just going to jump straight in and mention the materials required. So first off, you want 2 Moonlight Jade Leaves, which can be found on the Earth Grenier Forest tile set at night. Again, the whole 4 hours of night, 4 hours a day for the tile sets outside of Cetus and Plains of Eidolon. So you've really got to keep an eye on your times for that one. But thankfully, that is the only one that you need to get from Earth. The other 2 are Rock's Claws, which you need 6 of. And if you have run Mars missions, you probably notice that these are one of the only plants that actually grow on Mars. So they are quite easy to find. They're usually on walls or in corners, so you can find them pretty much anywhere. So yeah, just need 6 of them. And finally, you need 6 lunar pitches, and they are commonly found on Lua, the moon, and you find them in garden beds or near broken rubble and stuff like that. So another 6 of them, and these combined to make the Twilight Apothic. And the Twilight Apothic is used to summon the Orphic Spectre. Now, the Orphic Spectre is actually Saren in the Orphic Deluxe skin. So there's actually one thing I will need a little bit further research into, because I was trying to look at the abilities, and it actually states that at this point there's only notable that this Saren Spectre has Molt, Spores, and Miasma, no 4th ability. So I got to look further into that and find out what the deal is with that. There is a little bit of an interesting tidbit to know about the Molt in particular for this Orphic Spectre. And what it actually does, it creates empty husks that chase the player down and explode as toxic damage. So that's fantastic. Let's just throw in a Saren Spectre into the game that essentially creates suicide bombers. Fantastic. Most games have a concept of this, a suicide bomber kind of esque enemy, and this is one of Warframe's ones. So I think this is quite interesting. It's got a good mechanic. So if you do farm the Orphic Spectre, do keep in mind that these things will chase you down and will blow up. So now looking at the drops from the Orphic Spectre, to start off with, I'm going to be going over Brief Respite, which has a 38% drop rate, and it's actually an aura mod, and it's a bit of an interesting one. I think there are other mods or other abilities that kind of do it better. But what it does, it's casting skills grants shield equal to 150% of the energy spent while overshields are inactive. So essentially, you can't have overshield active, and if you spend 100 energy to cast an ability, then you get 150 shield back.
Thanks for figuring that out, because I was like, what the hell does that even mean?
So yeah, it's a good ability, but I do feel like there are other mods that more recently released that kind of do it better. I think it was one of the set bonuses, I'm pretty sure. Augur, or the Augur bonus, I think, maybe. Don't quote me on that. Second up, we have Stand United. It's another aura mod. It has a 29% drop rate. And this one's pretty simple. It just gives a 25.5% armor boost. Nice and simple. I think there are a few frames that could actually be quite useful for. Just to give you that little bit of an extra tankiness. So yeah, that's
25.5% fully ranked.
Yeah, fully ranked.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm just going to note that both of these auras can only be acquired from the Orphic Spectre, while the next 2 drops can actually be found in other locations. But looking at some of the drop chances, these actually seem to be the highest on the Orphic Spectre. The first one is Atlantis Vulcan at 21% drop rate, which is actually a nunchuck stance. Now, I haven't really used much nunchucks in the game myself, so I can't really say anything about this nunchuck stance. But hey, it's there. If you are someone who enjoys using nunchucks, 21% drop chance from the Orphic Spectre. Now, the second one,
the only stances I don't have.
No, there you go. There you go. The next one I actually have managed to pick up from other locations. I've looked at it, and pretty much every single other location that you can get this mod from is a 1% drop rate. Funny enough, on Orphan Spectre, it's a 10% drop rate, but I have already picked it up from other locations. And this is actually Crossing Snakes, which is a dual sword stance. Now, I think recently I've been using the Crossing Snakes on my Power Ranger swords. I can't remember the name. The Croaker?
Twin Croaker.
Twin Croaker, yeah. Loving the Twin Croaker. Power Ranger swords for life. And I'm pretty sure I'm actually using Crossing Snakes on my Twin Croaker. So it is a good stance. Definitely worth looking into to get. As I said, there are other locations that you can get it from. I think one of them was even an Elite Lancer, but it is only a 1% drop rate on anything other than the Orphan Spectre. So yeah, so that pretty much ties up my Silver Grove farming. I hope the listeners actually enjoyed this and find this information handy. And I will be looking into trying to do more sequential or divvied up farming tips later on down the track, if this is what you guys are actually interested in. So thank you very much.
Nice, very nice. And I'm looking to do some beginner farming tips in a future episode as well, so everybody gets to do some farming. Alrighty, thank you very much, Lucas. That was interesting. It doesn't seem like there's anything too interesting in the Twilight Apothic, unfortunately, but such is life.
Not really. The mechanics are there. I mean, I was actually giving it some thought. Like, if we could actually get more Warframe-based specters that we had to fight against that had these kind of mechanics that, just mix and match the abilities and kind of changed up mechanics of abilities a bit, that would be so much fun.
Yeah, it would. It's probably not a bad thing for them to think about adding to the game again. Warframe is so complex. All right. Moving on, the next section, of course, every week we have our community call-outs. This week, we've pretty much only got Cephalon cookie call-outs, and everybody loves a cookie. I will let Lucas start off his call-outs. Go for it.
All right, so I'm actually going to do the first call-out today because I'm actually quite happy that Knight Rider from our Discord has done this, and this is a massive thank you to him, or Knight Rider, for putting up the Chroma Prime Relics up in our Discord. So this also includes the Grand Prime Relics and the Rubico Prime Relics. So thank you very much, Knight Rider. We really do appreciate it. And I'm sure it helps out a lot of the other members of our Discord. So thank you.
I think it's the same person. I think Knight Rider also put them up in our Facebook group as well. So that really helps everyone. It's really good. So please start to share. It only helps us all, and it's happening a lot in our Discord, to be honest. But the Facebook group is a bit quieter, but we'll get there slowly.
Fantastic. And the second one, I actually want to let Greg mention, because this was something that he came up in a conversation with him, and continue on.
Yeah, so Bostrom NZ, our friendly Bostrom from New Zealand, we were talking about, I can't even remember what we were talking about at the time, but that's right, yes. One of the other guys, your master, I think it was commenting on why it's strange that mod polarities, there seem to be so many V mods that are useful on Warframes, whereas some of the other ones are less useful, and why aren't they more balanced between what are useful mods and what aren't? And Mr. Bostrom came in and basically schooled us all by explaining that the connection between the mods, the mod polarities, and the type of mod actually has to do entirely with the focus school. So V polarities are actually Vazarin, I think. And Vazarin are damage-based focus school. Zenuric, for example, is the Dash, and that is an energy-based school. So for that reason, when you're looking at the polarities on a weapon, on a mod, they will be based on what that mod is actually doing. And I did not know this until, I knew that the polarities themselves were based on the schools, but I did not look into it any further until he mentioned that, and it blew my mind. And I realized instantly that it was true. So as soon as I saw that come up, I sent a message straight to Lucas, and I said, I think Bostrom needs a cookie. And Lucas agreed straight away. So thank you for sharing your knowledge there as well. It is something that we will have to cover in a future episode. I don't think it's a spoiler. It's for us to cover focus schools. Realistically, it kind of is, but it kind of isn't, because it's not a lore or a story spoiler. So I'm starting to look into it's starting to get difficult for us to cover content and consider what is a spoiler against what isn't a spoiler. The reality is some of the stuff that people call spoilers have actually been in the game now for 3 years. So the majority of players who are playing have known about them for a long, long time. And for us to have to dance around them every episode can be a pain in the ass. So what I'm thinking of doing is making story spoilers taboo on these particular episodes, and we'll push them over to the spoiler casts. But things like talking about how to take down eidolons, for example, or how to what focus schools are, or talking about operators, for example, I don't think should be considered a spoiler. That's just something I'm mentioning right now. If you disagree with me very strongly, please tell me in any way that you wish to reach out to me.
So essentially, we're looking at mechanics in the game not really being classed as spoilers, but story stuff being classed as spoilers. Just to clarify for people.
Yeah, exactly, and I think that's fair. Yeah, a lot of that stuff's been around for a while. Anything else you wanted to add, Lucas?
No, just pretty much the exact same. If people don't have the same opinion as us about mechanics not being realistically spoilers, then please let us know. We're gonna plug ourselves at the end of the podcast as normal, so you'll have all the different locations that you can contact us and let us know.
Exactly, and that is actually right now.
Yeah.
So, if you have anything you want to say to us, whether or not you want to, thank us for the hard work that we're putting in, or if you want to tell us we're wrong about something, or if you'd like to make a suggestion or anything, if you'd like to be one of our community guest stars and be on the show as a mini episode or a mini interview, let us know. Get in contact with us. There are a number of different ways to get in contact with us. We have, of course, our Facebook page, which is Cephalon Squared, and we have our Facebook group, which is Cephalon Collective. We have our Twitter page, Cephalon Squared. We have a Discord server. The invites to the Discord server is pinned to our Twitter and our Facebook pages. We have email, cephalonsquared@gmail.com. We have a YouTube page, but I've only posted up to episode 5. I've really got to pull my finger out of my butt and fix that. Apologies to anyone that has been following on YouTube.
And we also will be trying to get some background visuals added to that, just to kind of spice things up a bit.
We're trying to, but there's, at the moment, just keeping across all of these different content places is hard enough work, and trying to actually edit videos for YouTube as well that involves video feeds is hard. So we're getting there, but I've got kids and a full-time job from my perspective. Lucas has his own personal life as well, so it's hard to balance everything. But we're getting there, and we really, really want to try to provide the best. It's kind of a service, I guess, the best for you, the listener. But we're trying. You can also get in contact with us via message over Anchor, etc., etc., etc. Basically, however you want to get in contact with us, please do. give us a rating on your podcast platform. This will help spread the word. It'll help other people know that we exist and help us grow. As we grow, we can do more things and we can do better things. So let's get there. Let's all work together. I am Greg Newbegin. I am Mad Capsules pretty much everywhere, all over the internet, but particularly on Twitter. Hit me up, say hello. I'm not scary, I don't think. Lucas,
Terrifying.
who are you?
I'm Lucas. You can find me on Twitter, SILVERLGHT, Silverlight. I know I've been a bit inactive lately, but hopefully that will be changing soon. So, find me there.
Not to correct you or anything, but your Twitter is actually SILVRLGHT. No ER.
That's right. I threw an E. Yeah. Damn it.
You did. So I'll just correct your spelling there.
Thank you.
I'll be your Twitter name Nazi.
Yeah. It's been a long week.
It has. And, I've been a bit rambly because I've been on hardcore drugs today. I had a tooth pulled out yesterday. So the world is a funny, funny place to me at the moment. So hopefully it hasn't been too much of a rambly episode. Thank you for hanging around and listening to all of it as always. Episode 10 last week blew our minds in terms of how well we've been doing over the last 2 months, and we really, really appreciate all of you listening to us. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you so much. It really means a lot to us. And as I say quite often, it's always great to see that this community is growing, and we always appreciate the support that you guys give us. So thank you so much.
Exactly. And as we go out, I'd like to say thanks to Jan, who is at disco_box on Twitter, for his beautiful intro and outro. Let's have a listen to his sexy voice now. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Cephalon Squared. If you'd like to contact us, send an email to cephalonsquared@gmail.com or get in touch via Twitter or Facebook. You can also join our Discord or send us a voice message via the Anchor app. See you next week.
The podcast you just heard was published with Anchor. Got something you want to say to the creator of this show? Send them a voice message using the Anchor app, free for iOS and Android.